Liz Hunt, and this is the Agency Rocket show where we discuss everything that has to do with the chaos of running a creative agency. Today, I have some very special people with me. I have the beautiful Kaitlyn and the other beautiful Megan.
Yay!
Just a couple of beauties here with me. So Megan is our art director, newly named art director for our agency, and Kaitlyn is our executive admin for the agency. And they are here to talk with us today about all kinds of good things. Kaitlyn, this was your requested topic. Do you want to tell us what we're going to talk about?
Yeah. So as DayCloud's resident chatterbox, I go on rants. And a lot of the times, the stuff that I rant about, I do a lot of stuff with community theater, and I direct and stuff for them. And I run into a lot of women in leadership issues where I don't think that I would have the same issues had I be a fill in the blank. Had I been a man, had I been an older woman, had I been a, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It just seems to be that I run into a lot of obstacles that I wouldn't necessarily have depending on how I present myself. Mm-hmm. And it's really annoying. And I've ranted many a time to the team about it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of it.
Well, this is obviously a really hot topic for a lot of people. And us being all female, also all white, we have to understand that there's definitely privileges that come with that. But, maybe tell me more about some of the, things that you've seen or things that you have witnessed and or maybe been had to deal with on your own.
Sure. As a director, we have to give feedback and notes a lot. And I'm one of the arguably younger directors in town. Mm-hmm. And I'm...
Wait, just real quick, why is that arguable?
Because a lot of people that direct in town are older. And, it's funny because I guess I don't consider myself young is the argument. Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't consider myself young, but I feel like that's another issue is I'm perpetually seen as like an 18-year-old graduate of some right off the turnip truck of like acting school. And it's like, I'm 40.
Yeah.
And so I've run into it like from an actor standpoint. I was auditioning for a show where I was supposed to have a 13-year-old daughter, mm-hmm. and I was to play a 32-year-old, and I was 33 at the time. And they're like, I don't buy it. And I'm like, but that is my actual age. So it would be nice to be able to be considered for parts because a lot of the times women roles are pretty terrible across the board because we haven't gotten to the point of seeing that women can be funny or women can be more in depth. So it's like, I'm not an ingenue age, but I'm like, I don't want to just play moms. Like, so that, but, more importantly with like recently is I've been doing a lot of directing, and with that you have to give notes, you have to give feedback, and I have a very, low register voice, and I feel like sometimes those notes, unless you are smiling, beaming like a psycho, because I have a lower register voice, I've literally like run the gamut of like why it's perceived that I am this oppressive, intrusive harsh person, which I don't consider myself any of those things.
Right. I've
But
never seen you have a harsh word ever. Never heard you say a harsh word ever.
I truly have thought, like, do I need to raise my vocal register so I seem like really nice? And like, I'm telling you these things that you obviously would not require from a man or perhaps from an older woman.
Are these audio notes then you're giving people? They're mostly...
Yeah, it's like feedback after rehearsals. I'm, try working on this.
Oh, okay. You give that in audio form, you don't write it down?
No, it's their job to write it down, which is another thing where it's like, can be seen as oppressive, where it's like...
I think what Megan is getting at is that they are hearing your tone while you're giving the feedback and seeing your facial expressions. And
yes,
is that is that what you mean, Megan?
Yeah, because written feedback is definitely perceived, I think, differently than audio feedback. Group critique feedback is seen different, and whether it's written down or where it's audio, that's just like different kinds of like given feedback. Having a teaching, I'm very familiar with your approaching.
No, typically, like when you are giving notes at the end of a rehearsal, it's kind of like a circle up, and everybody you go down the line and you give the feedback. And I've been directed by males and by older females, and I feel sometimes like I am crazy. Like I feel like I don't know if it's my tone of voice or just the need to have to sugarcoat basic requests that would not be asked. A male director, for example, would never be like, well, you sound kind of mean. It's like, well, he's just telling you, like walk over there instead of walking over there. But like somehow I have to be like, it was awesome that you walked over there, but like next time I have to preface every single bit and it just makes things go a lot longer. And I'm much more conscious of it as a female that I don't think men even have to think about it.
Or you could argue that it's okay for men to be dicks.
Right.
Saying just walk over. That's definitely what I faced in teaching. Like there was a real like
duplicitous,
kind of duplicitous, but sort of like it goes for one gender and it doesn't go for other. So like contradictory, I guess.
Yeah.
So like if you are female presenting and you try to like come with the force and the grandeur of some of your peers, you get looked at as like a bitch, which is, like it's also like, okay, I'm a bitch, but with being called a bitch, there's a whole mindset involved. I think there's like the person approaches you like a bitch. They take your feedback like a bitch. Whereas like someone be acting like a dick, they can kind of slough it off. Like, oh, that's just Jerry.
That's just like him. Yes.
Yeah. With women, it's like you come into the conversation already like preset to deal with a kind of person. Like, it sort of like makes everything sort of lean to one side than it does to the other. That was my background.
It creates a gender bias.
That's a great way to put it.
Or you could be seen as, if you say something definitively, as a woman, I feel like sometimes I'm seen as too big for my britches. Like, it's like, oh, you know it all? It's like, well, I am directing this show and a crew of 35. So if you want me to direct, I have to be direct. It's literally in the job title.
Yeah.
It's interesting that everybody's passing around the Barbie monologue that's like, as a woman, you have to be X, but you also have to be Y, and you have to be this and that. And I'm happy that monologue is going around, but the caveat with the monologue is if I have a lower register than Margot Robbie, if I don't look like Margot Robbie, if I, all of these things, am I still likable enough to have guys want to sleep with me, but girls want to be my friend? If I said that same monologue, would it have the same intention, or would I be a bitch? Would I be bitter? Would I be jealous? It's maddening to strike the right mix of the women that are telling you, like, the whole message of, since like Me Too and like the feminist thing is, you know, don't tell me to smile, but you're telling me to smile, giving you these notes that I should just be able to give you.
Yeah.
Like, you're the one that's like telling me that like I have to do everything exactly the right way. And for a team of 25, where everybody's going to have different ways of wanting their feedback, but that's not the way that it works.
Yeah, you touched on something a little bit earlier that was probably my biggest grievance as being like a female instructor. And I think that leadership roles, I'm fairly new to like leadership roles in design. I'm usually a designer. I've been senior designer for about a year, but and my biggest frustration, I guess, to my point, was that I always had to prove first that I could give you feedback, or that you do believe me, or that I am a good designer, or that I am a good X, Y, and Z, and then I was allowed. So there was always that I had to break through something with, you know, and I see it with certain types of students or certain types of personalities, but there was definitely a default that I didn't know what I was talking about, opposed to my male colleagues that came in as an expert. And so I had to prove myself to be an expert. But even then, I didn't have the same wiggle room and the same ability to sort of like lord around the classroom, which I don't want to do, but I didn't have the same ability that I saw in some. But I always had to prove it first, and then
always have to prove it, always have to be humble. You can't just matter of fact say, I know best. As a woman. I know what I'm talking about. You always have to be grateful, which it's not bad to be grateful, but at a certain point, it's like, I've earned this. It's past grateful. And it's like, when is it ever just going to be an earned opportunity? Not something that I should be like worshiping who gave it to me. I think it's interesting with like my resume of some people that, you know, are in charge of organizations, or some people that are in charge of institutions. And it's like, but my resume isn't even in contention for some of these jobs. And I'd really like to know why. Like, you know, directing opportunities, being the head of a theater. And it's like, I don't know. It's very interesting of striking this mix of, you have to be in the right place at the right time, and you also have to be so likable but approachable, and you also have to be grateful, and you also have to be able to give feedback, but like, you have to be in charge but not too in charge. It's crazy.
Do you think Kaitlyn and Liz, obviously, Liz, please speak your piece, but do the two of you think that women hold other women accountable for the same expectations and expressing as men do, or do you think it's different between the genders?
I have my answer, but you go ahead, Liz.
Well, I think that's a very, very big and broad question that is answered more on an individual basis. You know,
you might not be able to just lump people in categories there.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a big fan of not doing that. But that being said, I do think that for me, my first responsibility is to women. And that is like my personal like assignment, right? My personal assignment is to like make sure that I am not competing with other women, but that I am cheering them on, and that I am supporting them, and that I am looking for ways to partner and empower and like figure out ways that I can like help them be their best selves, right? And then as an aside to that, I think if more women can continue to do that, then that ripple will eventually, I do think that will help change a generation and other generations of men and their mindsets around women. I do think that one of the best ways to change mindsets is by women changing our mindsets first, and then I think that men's mindsets will follow. I have a personal belief that women are the most powerful beings on the planet. I personally absolutely 100% believe that, and it has everything to do with the fact that I have been through child labor. And I have had that was the most empowering, beautiful thing that I have ever been through. And so that I just 100% believe.
I thought you meant you worked as a child until just now.
No.
I was that was nice. Labor.
No.
Okay.
No. I have had a baby.
Yeah, had a baby. All right.
From my body. I know that is a pretty idealistic concept, but I truly, truly believe that women are the most powerful beings on the planet, and that is why. And so, but I also believe that that's why they are some of the most oppressed. Just women, half the population of the world. Again, I cannot speak for women of color and all these things because I know that I am very privileged being a white person. Here's the other side to it. I also very, very strongly believe that we don't get the whole picture if we aren't in partnership. I know that there are men out there that purposely try to oppress women and purposely are sexist and do all these horrible things. I also know that women do the same thing. There are women that are holding other women back and compete with each other. And, but at the end of the day, what I truly believe in is partnerships. I really do. And I know that real feminism is about equality for all. And that is men and women. It's not about women having more power. It's about us being able to be who we are in our individuality, but still neither one lording over the other. I still think that men can be men and women can be women and, whatever other can be other, but I think that really what has to happen is we have to find a way to be unified, and that we have to find a way to celebrate each other instead of feeling threatened by each other. And I think that's really what has created so much conflict is that each one is threatened by the other instead of celebrating each other. I just truly believe that the ideal scenario, the utopia, would be partnership and unity for it,
Yeah. And to speak on women supporting other women, I think a lot comes from maybe the old, not even the super older way of doing things, but there were only so many positions for women. There were only so much opportunity for women. So women have learned to hold on for dear life to those opportunities.
Yep.
And it's really hard to foster the progression of those opportunities going forward because
for sure
you work so hard for that. I understand that, but I feel like to Liz's point, the gatekeeping has to stop specifically within the female presenting community because I agree with Liz. I think that we're amazing and we can do everything. And I really try to champion for other women and other opportunities too, because I've been in that seat of being qualified for opportunities, but there was a gatekeeper, and it was so much harder mentally on me when that gatekeeper was a woman, because I'm like, you know how hard it is.
Yeah.
And so it's discouraging.
One other thing that I would even say is, I have heard, and I can't cite my source at this point, but I've heard it said that men get promoted or hired based on potential, and women get hired or promoted based on their performance. And I have very proactively and like in my business, really tried to make sure that I flip the script on that. That I am always looking at the potential of my people and always looking at the potential of new hires, and not just a resume and like, what have you actually done? But I'm looking at like, okay, here's where I believe it's possible that you can make it, and that where you can go, and with just a little bit of extra investment from me, here's what I think you have the potential to do. And like, even to me, as like one of my responsibilities as a woman in leadership, I think it's taking it even that far of flipping scripts that we have in our culture. I think it's not just being like wearing a cool t-shirt that says women support women. It's like actually doing the work of, you know, hey, I see you, and I'm going to invest in you, and I'm going to put the time in, and I'm going to make sure that you know that I care about you, and all these things. Like, wearing a t-shirt is cool, and posting about it on your social media is fine, but it, like, for me, I really want to, you know, get practical and tactical.
Well, and also to the point of the t-shirt, because I'll bring that up too with the women support women or the men support women shirts.
Yeah.
That should be for all women, not just the prototype perfect woman. Because it's interesting to me, even with women in the workplace, with the you're too emotional. It doesn't present the same way for every woman. A woman in a meeting that's overwhelmed can present as angry or present it with tears or something, but it doesn't make one woman's reaction perfect. And I think it's really interesting with, I knew somebody, it was a man, and he wore a men support women shirt. And he was one of the people that gave me the hardest time directing him. And I'm like, I am a woman in power. You say you support this, and yet you are fighting me every step of the way because I'm a matter of fact. And it's like, I'm just giving it to you straight. I'm not like this manic pixie dream girl woman. And I feel like sometimes with that men support women or women support women, when she's crying in a meadow, I'll support her, you know, like not when she's like, I'm pissed, you know, you still have to be likable when you are upset. To be supported, you have to be this perfect version of a woman still.
Yeah. Right. I think what you're speaking to is like the pretty privilege. And, and we've talked about in the office, that that's definitely a real thing. I know that like in our agency that, you know, there was definitely a difference with how clients treated me when, I lost 40 pounds. and figured out, like got hair extensions and my eyebrows microbladed. Just like all these things.
Oh yeah.
There has been a big time change in relationships with clients. And
it's funny because
that's like flirty or, like inappropriate. It's more of just like people, clients and prospects are just way more receptive to what I have to say. They will just listen better and they are more open to what I have to say. We get hired more. We do.
It's interesting to me because I was in the same boat. I was once like much smaller than I am, and I have noticed a marked change. But it was funny because even when I was more conventionally acceptable or whatever, I noticed that there was still a backhanded insult. It would be like, I would go into an audition and like read for something, and it was like astounding that I could read. Like just you get the opposite side of the coin where it's like, oh, I thought you'd be an actual idiot because of how you look. It's like, oh, because you look like that, I assumed you'd be dumb, or like, oh wow, and she can read, like, and she can do this, and it's like, people would talk down to me. Like, yes, they were more receptive to me. I would get my foot in the door and like have the opportunity, but then it was this slight undertone of surprise when I was also intelligent. So it doesn't feel good. Yes, you get more opportunity. Pretty privilege will do that. But there's a weird other tone to it. Whereas now that I'm heavier or whatever, fill in the blank, it will be like there's a camaraderie of like, hey, we don't look like that, but like, you're sure smart. Like, it's like, now I get more like everyman or something. Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah.
But
we should probably wrap it up here.
I guess we're done.
We're done.